This computer. Right, there we go. All right. Hello. So my name is Rohan Alexander. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Toronto. And we are here today to launch the DoSS, which is Department of Statistical Sciences, toolkit for learning R. And the person who's going to launch that is Bethany. Do you want to go over?
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for the invitation. I'm very excited to be here. So my name is Bethany White, and I am an associate professor in the teaching stream at the University of Toronto, and also the associate chair for undergraduate studies in statistics. So I'm thrilled to be here today for the official launch for the Learning R peer-to-peer toolkit. I'll just say a few words, and then I want to hear the good stuff. I want to hear about this toolkit. So there's been a huge proliferation of data being generated in most disciplines, and this has been driving demand for data science and statistical skills. In the Department of Statistical Sciences at the University of Toronto, we have seen the demand for our statistics programs skyrocket. To give you some context here, in 2013, there were around 1,000 undergraduate students in our statistics programs, and now we have over 4,000 students in undergraduate statistics programs. So this does not include students in other disciplines who take stats for their programs. So this is just stats program students. So demand for statistics programs is even higher than that. So our statistics specialist and major programs are now limited enrollment and competitive. So not everyone who requests our programs are admitted. Students are flocking to statistics not only because it's important and a fascinating discipline, but it's also because it opens doors and career prospects. So the ability to work with data and to make sense of data are essential skills today, ones that are really valued by employers. This toolkit will help interested folks from across disciplines familiarize themselves with some of the popular and versatile tools like R that we need in order to work with data. A word of caution though, with great power comes great responsibility. So we need to be careful when making sense of data, because sometimes depending on how the data were generated or the analytical methods being used, we could be misled by our results. So I'd highly recommend some formal statistics training for anyone who anticipates needing to make sense of data in research or the workplace. For those currently pursuing undergraduate programs, other programs at the U of T, our statistics minor program is an attractive option that's designed to complement other programs by providing the necessary foundation to effectively make sense of data. So thanks to Rohan and Sam and the entire team, so awesome, strong team, for spearheading this initiative, and to the Faculty of Arts and Science for supporting this initiative through the PI, or Pedagogical Innovation and Experimentation Fund. So I'll hand it over to the team now so they can share all the awesome things that they've been up to. I look forward to hearing more.
Thanks, Bethany. And if we were in person, then you could cut a ribbon or something. But I don't know if you want to. Maybe you could put the link into the chat. Do you have the? And that could be our digital equivalent. You might just be muted. Yeah. So
here it is. Drum roll.
That's right. Okay, very good. Right. Okay. So the first thing that we need to do is take a photo, if that is okay. So what I was planning on doing is just taking a screenshot. So if you don't want to be part of it, then if you could just turn off your video just for a moment. But the media team did ask for a photo, so just turn off the photo, turn off your video if you don't want to be part of it. Otherwise, I'll just do a screenshot in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got a smile. All right, maybe just one more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ah. All right, done. Right, at least they will be happy. So my partner in crime in this was Sam. Sam, are you around? Did you just want to say a few words? might just be a bit late. And so basically what we did was we put together the fundamental problem with R is that the best way to learn R is to just use R. So you have some project, you're interested in baseball, right? You want to know who was the best baseballer ever. I'm not interested in baseball. And so then the professor or the teacher gives you some code, you manipulate it, and you find out that Babe Ruth was the best baseballer ever. And that's great, but it can be a very painful process. The teacher has probably learned R 10 to 15 years ago. So in my case, I learned R to impress a girl, and that was a while ago now. And when you're teaching something, it can be very hard to remember what the experience is like as a learner when you're coming to something for the first time. And so one of the very nice aspects of this DoSS toolkit is that it was actually written by students. And so these are folks who have maybe learned R last term, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. And so it's written from their perspective.
I'm here, just so you know.
Oh, Sam, you are.
I just lost my mouse. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
You want me to go or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go.
Okay, so I didn't have anything like planned. I just wanted to say like most of the motivation that came about this was from Rohan and I teaching a course together last semester. And the course was designed for basically students at any level in the stats program. So they could have been in a minor, a major, or a specialist program. And we really saw students from all walks of life. So students who had never seen R before to students who were more advanced in R than we ourselves probably were. And it was just really challenging to navigate the course. And so I could only imagine how it would be challenging to navigate any other workplace where you want students to be kind of at the same level, or you want your colleagues to kind of be at the same level. So developing this toolkit was just the goal of it was to really have a way to have an even playing field for all people coming in. So if you are advanced, you could start at an advanced level. If you're completely new, you would start right from scratch. How do I install R onto my computer? And the idea is you would just kind of work your way up to the level that you want to be at. So yeah, like Bethany had said previously, R is really up and coming and it's becoming pretty popular. And although Rohan had learned it for someone very special to him, other people want to learn it for other people that are special, but probably the people that are going to potentially be paying them in the future. Not saying like maybe she's paying you, but yeah, that's all I had to say about this toolkit.
So what I might do is just do a brief screen share and take you through the process of getting set up with some of these things. And then we might hear from the actual folks that put the materials together. So I'll just share my screen. Right, can you see the RStudio? Just pull out the chat. Can you see the RStudio?
It's a bit small, Rohan.
Oh yeah, I'll adjust that. I just wanted to make sure I'm sharing the same screen. So we have our homepage, which is just dostoolkit.com. We'll replace the background image, but you can see a Wonder Woman hiding in there if you look closely. And the idea is that in the same way that these days sort of calculus is just a tool that we use, R can be something that we can use. It was contributed by a whole bunch of different folks, and so most of these are undergraduates, and as well as a couple of PhD candidates. And we'd just like to thank, especially Bethany White, who you heard from before, but also Radu, and also the Innovation Fund. There were a bunch of people that helped us out with content, and so thanks to Liza, Monica, and Sabrina. And Alex Cookson, who I don't think he's here today, but he actually puts together a whole bunch of data sets that we built on. And our data set, our toolkit is focused on R. And there's a lot of other people in the department that have put together toolkits or similar toolkits that are to do with statistics. And then there's, of course, a whole bunch of folks out in the wider world who have put together helper packages for R. And I would especially like to thank Greg Wilson, who sort of taught me everything that I know about how to teach. So the way that you get started is you actually, you can install the tidyverse, you can install remotes, install Open Data Toronto, which was put together by Charlotte Gelfin. I'm not sure if Charlotte's here, but shout out to Charlotte if not. And we're installing GreatThis. And so in this RStudio, beg your pardon, in this RStudio Cloud, and I'll just zoom in. I've already taken the liberty of installing those. Those take a few minutes, if that's okay. So that's just copy pasting here. And now we're going to actually install the actual DoSS toolkit. And so I'll just run that. And what this is doing is it is going to GitHub and it is grabbing a whole bunch of code. And we're now going to be able to execute that code once it's installed. Okay, and so it's hopefully installed. So it's installed. And so the concepts are all grouped within modules. And so our first module is Hello World. And so if you'd like to run that Hello World module, you use the learner package, the run tutorial, and we can just copy and paste this code in, execute that by hitting Command Enter if you're on a Mac. And what this is going to do is underpinning all of this is an R Markdown document, and we're running that R Markdown document. This pop-up is just because of a browser. So if you're on Chrome, you may not experience this pop-up. If you're on Safari, you just have to click Allow. And so each of the modules it starts off with the sort of person talking about why they love R. In this case, it's me because we need the content, but there's more qualified folks in other modules. And there's generally an introduction page, just saying what we're going to be talking about. And so this first one, and I won't go through all of them in excruciating detail, I'll just go through a couple. This first one is about getting R, and then we have we've got a Hello World. So this is just an example, a motivation for some of the things that you might be able to do after you've learned R. We've got text. This one was written by Annie Collins. We've got video, and we can see code in action, but we're not being asked to do anything in this one. It's more about reading and just going through and perhaps being inspired by some of the things that we could do. And finally, one of the really great things about, finally for this module, one of the really great things about R is the R community. And so we've got some steps for how you might like to do that, get involved in that. Okay, so let's just say we're interested in one of these other aspects. So we might be interested in, Sam, which one are you interested in?
Which package?
Which module?
The data boy.
Yes, all right. So He Was a Data Boy is all about the fundamentals of data. Now, it's going to be embarrassing if this doesn't run, but let's hope it runs. Oh, I beg your pardon. I need to stop this first. Okay, now we can run. Oh gosh. The issue, so what's happening here is the issue with using RStudio Cloud is that nothing is installed. So it's a clean install. What I'm trying to do is to replicate the experience of a student coming in. They wouldn't have any of these packages installed, but it does mean that we have embarrassing things like this happen. We might choose another. Can you pick another one?
Yeah, ggplot.
Let's just do.
Oh.
Let's just try one. And so exactly the same as before, it should just be running and we should get this pop-up. And so in this case, we have Sam, and we're just going through a bunch of different features. In this case, we actually we have a bit of interaction. And so we actually have exercises where students can actually run bits of code, and we've got exercises. So run this code in your own studio, update packages, which of these are true, and so we can submit some answers. And in this case, who is this one? This is Mariam. Mariam's telling us that we got this one wrong. And so at the moment we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, it's summative assessment. We have assessment designed to help you learn rather than assessment designed to test you at the end. And so we've got a lot of assessment designed to help you learn built into the packages. One thing that we're going to be working on is assessment to test what you know. And the idea here is that you can actually earn badges for different levels of knowledge. So I'll stop sharing, and we might just hear a little bit from some of the folks that put it together. Yeah, Charlotte, the badges were made by Paul Hodgetts. I'm not sure if Paul's around, but a talented guy. So we might just go alphabetically. Annie, did you want to start? Annie, Isaac, Matthew, Annie?
Yeah, I can start. So I'm Annie. Hello, I'm one of the undergrads who worked on the DoSS toolkit. I'm a fourth year applied math and stats specialist. And I was in Rohan's STA 304 class last semester. So that's initially how I found out that this was happening and sort of got drawn in. And other than like just learning about it through the class, I was drawn to the project because this is something that would have been a lifesaver for me back learning R in second year. If you were in my breakout room, group 8, you know about the trials and tribulations of I had learning R. But basically I entered university as a pure math student. So when I started taking stats courses in second year, I had like no coding experience in any language. Like I didn't even know what R was. And then all of a sudden there was this sort of like expectation that I'd either taken a first year course in it, like STA 130 at U of T, or that I had sort of like come across it and learned it out of my own interest, which like I hadn't even heard of it. So I was sort of thrown into the deep end in these like 200 level courses. And also when you learn in that context, you sort of end up learning like one function at a time for like a specific assignment or like a few little packages here and there. And it's not really like an actual learning experience. It's more of like a copy paste sort of learning curve. So I never really like felt comfortable using R. It was more just struggling trying to finish certain tasks. And so when I started learning, although there's like so many resources in this huge community online surrounding R, it was really, really overwhelming at first to try and figure out what I needed. And I didn't really understand a lot of the terminology. So even like understanding these resources was really difficult. And like object types and like what's a package and what's install versus library and like all of this stuff. And there's obviously a lot of different ways to do things in R, and you know, things copy and change between different packages. So it was very overwhelming. I didn't know where to start and I didn't know how to continue and how to build. So it was very all over the place. So when I heard about this project, I was really excited to hear that there was something that was going to sort of step in and fill that gap and, you know, hold people's hands a little bit along the way, because that's what I would have used for my first 2 years of learning R, and even like at the beginning of this year. So during the project, I worked primarily on dflyer functions, and I also got to do the Hello World that Rohan showed and some of the R community resources. So both like individual function level and some more like broad real world things. So the Hello World and the R community resources were really fun to work on because they were more like things that I could sort of, now that I have a bit of R under me, it was like stuff that I can sort of utilize more day to day. But I actually found that explaining the individual functions was like a huge learning curve. And it was really sort of like an unexpected challenge, since you never really use individual functions in the sense of like explaining all of their arguments and all of their use cases and having to provide examples and assess people on it. So I found that to be really fun and sort of a weird, like flipping the script, like different way of thinking about everything. And yeah, so even though this was technically like a teaching experience, like producing these materials for other students, it really was very much a learning process for me, both in terms of learning the materials that I was producing more in depth, but also the process of using Learn R and R Markdown and GitHub and working in a team and stuff like that, and also just learning from the materials that my teammates were producing just for other projects, since I knew that the resource was out there and I sort of had a sneak peek access to the repo. So just pulling some of the more advanced things for other projects I was working on and learning from them. So I'm really excited that this is out in the world now. I will definitely continue to use it for just maintaining my R knowledge and also expanding on it once we get into the more higher level things. And yeah, overall great experience, and I'm really excited. That's
as
there now.
I was saying, we were using GitHub to work. Obviously, we were completely remote, and so we were very much working as a software development sort of team. And there were a couple of the undergraduates who were a bit more advanced in GitHub than I was. Anyway, I'll say that. And so Mariam and Matthew's materials. I was secretly very happy when they put those together early because I was able to use them to learn GitHub myself. Our next in order is Isaac. Did you have anything that you wanted to add? And then we'll have Matthew.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. First, I guess I'd like to thank everyone for coming and Rohan for putting all this together. I guess I had a rather unusual R learning experience compared to the rest of stats undergrads. I took a now discontinued computer science course that was meant for statistics that was actually taught in R. So I guess I got a little bit of a jump start on learning R and learning how to code overall. But now that this class isn't available anymore, I thought, and I guess undergrads struggling with R is a bit of an issue. I thought this would be a great replacement, and as Annie and Ron have said, like a good way to like hold a hand or help an undergrad on the way. So yeah, I've been really happy to help out, and I've definitely learned a lot in the process too. There are some questions that have come up, through the last years of debugging friends' codes or learning R myself, that are just, either what is the best way to teach a programming language, and am I getting all the material in? Am I doing it in the most efficient way? And these are not only questions I didn't necessarily consider before working on this project, but definitely ones I didn't have access to. So it's definitely something that I've enjoyed learning in the process. And yeah, I'm excited to work on this project and see how we can help other stats undergrads.
Thanks, mate. And so then Matthew, and after that we'll go Maria and Michael. Matthew.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a third-year stats student at U of T. I was part of the team creating lessons for the toolkit. I mainly made lessons using R, and then I did a couple using GitHub. When I was in Rohan's class last year, that's how I found out about this toolkit, and I was really excited when I found out about it because I love using R, and I think it's really useful for stats. I'm really glad I had the opportunity to work on this because when I first started using R, I didn't really know what I was doing. I never coded before, and there wasn't really like a clear way of learning how to use it. So I kind of had to just go off the lecture slides or ask the professor, and there wasn't really like a learn at your own pace kind of thing. And so when I found out about this, I was really excited because people can learn at their own pace, do their own lessons that they want to learn, and it should be helpful to everyone really. And I think it's also going to be really helpful because of the way that we have it set up. So it's kind of for students by students kind of thing, and like the lessons show how a function works, and then you can test it out yourself, so you get like a good understanding of how it's supposed to go. Being involved in it was also important to me because I got to learn about a lot of things in R and GitHub. I never used GitHub until I took Rohan's class last year. And so I had to learn a lot about it, especially for the lessons I was making. And it was really fun to learn. I'm definitely going to use those lessons in the future. And then I also learned stuff like teamwork and communication skills which have also been really helpful. I'm also just really glad that this is being made, especially being like supported by stats department and by Rohan and Sam. It just shows how much they care about growing the study of stats and helping future students or anyone really learn about something that I think is really fundamental for stats. And overall, it's been a really fun experience, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it. And I'm really excited for everyone to start using the toolkit, and I'm excited to use it myself actually, just to learn about some new things that I have no idea how to use yet. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much, Matthew. We also, so we've heard from 3 of the undergraduates. There was 7 in total, but the other 4 aren't talking today for various reasons. But I'll just mention the names. So we had Howland, we had Shirley, we had Mariam, we had Yana. We also had 2 of the PhD candidates who were in a dual role. They had to hold Sam and my hand, but also hold the undergraduate's hand, and so they got the worst of both worlds. Maria, did you want to start, and then Michael?
Yeah, I'll start. So hi, everyone. I'm Maria. I'm a grad student in the Department of Statistics. I work with Monica Alexander. So I was going to take just a small part of whatever allotted time I get to kind of shower praise on Rohan and Sam. I think what you're doing is awesome. I am really glad that you had this idea, that you put this together, and that you kind of took the initiative to especially involve undergrads. I think this is amazing, and I'm super grateful that you let me be part of it. So Rohan was asking us to kind of say a few words about the toolkit in general. And so I started thinking about my journey through it, but then I started thinking about my journey in the Toronto data workshop. And so Rohan, I'm going to embarrass you, but I'm going to throw some praise, shower you with some praise for like just creating this community to begin with. Just making what started off as like a meeting in a classroom in a school of information that you turn into this regularly well-attended online gathering, and pretty much giving us a community for data enthusiasts to talk about all things data. So thanks for the dedication and for kind of sticking with this. It's awesome. So as for the toolkit, so it was really awesome to be part of this. There were some nice things about it, obviously. So my journey with R was sort of patchy. That seems to be the theme for everybody else, at least from like the breakout rooms. I could gather that pretty much everybody had the same background. Everybody had to learn R at some point for a project or for a class. And my experience was the same. One weekend, I just had to learn R because I had a homework due on Monday. And it was in R. And so looking back, and this kind of echoes a little bit of what Annie said, my kind of younger self would have loved a resource like this in sort of a centralized repository that I can refer to look up things or learn things more systematically. So I love the fact that that this now exists and it's out there in the world. And it's also pretty cool that I happen to be part of it. And it's really kind of like a one-stop shop for R. But there are challenging aspects to it. And one of the things that I personally found most challenging was creating content from scratch, so to speak, and just kind of trying to think about. And I think the challenge is in sort of making this balance between creating something that's really helpful for the students, that's informative, but that's also well-paced and balanced and enjoyable for students to go through. And so in doing that and in working through that, I really had to think of me as an R newbie and what I found frustrating and what I found hard, so that I can maybe try to create content that people would be able to work through and kind of enjoy and actually learn something from it. And one of the most rewarding things was just watching the undergrad students create amazing content. I am really impressed. You guys have done an excellent job, and I hope you are as proud of yourselves as we are proud of you. And it was really kind of easy to look through some of your content because there was no need for any specific corrections or doing any major changes. I actually could look at some stuff and maybe even learn a few things. So it was really great being part of this, and hopefully we can keep doing it until we get it to a state that it's just amazing. All right, I think that's all I'm going to say. Maybe pass it off to Michael if.
Yeah, Michael, are you?
Yeah. Hi. My name is Michael. I'm also a PhD student in statistics. And like Maria, I was also asked to help on this, like writing some of the modules, but also reviewing some of the students' work. Yeah, I think I'll keep my remarks relatively brief, but I'll echo Maria's praise of Rohan and Sam. I feel like even just leading me and Maria would probably be like herding cats. So yeah, I think it's incredible the sort of the scope of this project and all the moving parts. Putting that all together was like mind-boggling. I don't know how to achieve that level of project management, but yeah, I thought that was incredible. I guess like one thing that like I'd like to point out about the modules that the undergrads have contributed to is that like they're written with like a very practical lens, which I think would have been extremely helpful in my journey learning R. They're like rich with examples. They tell you where to look next for resources, how to troubleshoot your errors and things like that. And I think that's, I mean, I'm watching my younger sister take an intro stats course right now. And I mean, she just Googles everything anyway. So I think it's useful to have a resource that at least tells you what to Google, and like at least like a first like launching pad for like where to look first. And so I think sort of like these soft lessons on like where to look and like all this sort of like invisible curriculum kind of stuff is important. And then yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Maybe with one more comment that I hope like this visibility as a resource coming from like a stats department maybe like pushes people away from using like proprietary software in their intro stats courses, and yeah, hopefully this like moves stats education forward as a like into using open tools and with the stress on reproducibility and stuff like that, and community. I think this is like a great example of like a community built resource. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Michael. Bethany, did you want to say anything on reflection?
I'm really excited about this. I really am. I see huge potential here for our students and stat students everywhere, kind of thing. So I thank you to everyone who for everything that you did.
Sam, did you want to say anything on reflection?
Just another big thank you, and just to echo what Michael said, like I really like the idea of community and the openness that this project brings. In my breakout group, there was only 2 of us that were associated with the university, so it's nice that, you know, this is kind of available for anyone to use, and that's the whole point of R, right?
Thanks, Sam. So I'll just like to say a few points, and then I think we'll stop recording and then throw it open for questions or comments for other folks. So the initial thought around this was to try and improve the student experience. So we're always told, do not read your course evaluations, and I, of course, read my course evaluations. And one student said that I threw them in the deep end and expected them to swim Olympic record times. And I think that he imagined, or they imagined, that this was like a negative comment. But I think that actually this does reflect my teaching style perhaps a little bit. And having some resources around this and allowing them to sort of a few foundations, I think is something that I was really missing in the students, I think, were missing from my teaching. And so I think that having this is really helpful for that. I was also interested in improving the teaching experience. So I am not the best person to teach somebody the tidyverse or whatever, or what have you. And I mean, some of the best people are here, but what I do know is how to A/B test things. And we now have a platform for experimentation. One of the aspects of the fund was experimentation. And we have a platform that we can try things out and see what resonates with people. So I don't know if anyone's actually played around with some of the modules, but it's a little bit of a tangled garden. I mean that in like the nicest, I mean that in a positive way. I really love that we're not using the same data sets. I really love that the students' voices are coming through. And I think that that's the way to learn. I think that's the most effective way. But if people disagree with that, we can very easily put up equivalent content written in one voice, in one consistent professorial, I don't know if I just made up a word, professorial manner, and we can test it and we can see. All of the assessment, we can check and we can see how folks are doing and what they're not going well on, and we can develop further materials based on how that's going. And so I love that we've turned, technology is not a replacement for teaching, right? I think that we all agree that, and I don't think anyone would argue against that, but we can try and use it to our advantage. And I think that this is one way, this DoSS toolkit will hopefully enable that sort of experimentation from the teaching side of things. Bethany sort of mentioned that we have many students in statistics, but we don't have a very diverse group going on to graduate study and continuing on to become faculty members and all the rest of it. And so the hope is that this sort of work would allow other folks who may not think of themselves as statisticians. So in order to think of yourself as a statistician when you're 18, I don't even know how you come to that, right? There's a very particular path, but you might think of yourself as a social scientist. You might think of yourself as an economist, as a political scientist, who knows? But you actually might just be doing applied statistics, and you might be perfect in our department, but you can't take the courses because you don't know R, or you're worried that you're not going to do well. So I mean, we heard from Annie, who's a maths background and had those sort of concerns. And so hopefully this tool allows us to sort of speak to a little bit of the diversity in statistics. The undergraduates were incredible. I maybe have a slightly too negative view of the undergraduates, but it was just incredible. I was reading their stuff. I was learning so much by going through it and pulling it all together. And I've been using R for more than 10 years, right? And so it was just incredible. I was almost in tears, like going through. It's just so beautiful what they've put together. And I don't know. I wonder if as teachers we can try and use this energy a little bit more in how we do other things as well. It obviously wasn't a randomly selected bunch. They're all very high achieving students, of course. But I do wonder if we can take some lessons from this. And my final point is that this is a beta launch. Some things will go wrong. When Amazon launched, you could actually order negative numbers of books, and they presumably would just send you the check for the books that you would post them. And so we're very much in beta territory at the moment. And the plan is that it's being used in my classes right now. Hopefully we use it in some of Monica's classes. We'll get it to a sort of a stable set of modules for the summer. Hopefully integrate it into some of the summer courses. We'll have a bit more of an established beta. and then very much ready to go for the fall. We do have some funds remaining to clean things up, and the plan from Sam and I is to try and apply for some more funds and try and develop out. We've already got some modules planned and some other things planned as well in terms of the formatting, things like that. But thank you very much for coming, and I'll stop recording. And if you have any questions that you'd like to hit us with, do your best. Thank you.